All right, just 17 weeks to go on our journey to Ironman Cairns 2026. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. For those of you who've been here before, welcome back. My name's Des Trindle. I'm a 57-year-old triathlete based in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, juggling the demands of Ironman training around work and family. So I do these little videos each week just as a recap of what my training has been, and more to be transparent, and a little bit of a log for myself as well to look back on in future years. So please enjoy. 17 weeks to go was a bit of a big week for me. It was one of the longest training weeks that I've done in a long time as far as time goes. It was in total 3 swims, about 2 hours 40 in total. I snuck out on the bike a few times more than usual. I had 6 bike rides for just on 13 hours, and we got 4 runs in as well for around that 4-hour mark. So total time in training was about 19 hours and 40 odd minutes, give or take a little bit there. So the week started off pretty well. We still had a bit of residual weather left over from our little weather event that we had here in southeast Queensland, which unfortunately caused the cancellation of the Tweed Enduro on the Sunday. So that weekend there was a lot of time spent indoors training and out running in the rain, and luckily we have a great facility with our covered pool here at Redcliffe, so that wasn't too much of an issue. But Monday was still wet and still windy, so I was back on the indoor bike for a zone 2 2-hour ride, and I used Rovi for that, just on the old 2021 Cairns course, just rolling along, enjoying the scenery or virtual scenery on the TV, and that was that session done. In the afternoon I headed to our facility, our indoor pool there, and we did a 2,500 metre interval swim. And pretty much I get pretty boring with these because I repeat a fair bit of what I've done before. So it's just a 400 metre warm up. I then go into 5 200s freestyle with a 45-second rest, and I'm just holding a firm pace. I'm not pushing too hard in those, just concentrating on breathing and form and body position. I continue the 45-second rest and I roll straight into another 5 200s, but now I use pull buoy and paddles just to work on that strength endurance again. Once again, not pushing, just concentrating on form and a catch, especially with the paddles. If you tend to get a little bit wrong in the paddles, the handles slide out of position in the water. So they're great for helping with that catch position as far as the technique goes. After that, I just do a warm down and I'm out, and that gives me my 2,500 or my 2,500 metres or 2.5 Ks. So Tuesday we turned into, the weather was starting to improve, so outside for another run, a little bit windy but no rain. Tuesday tends to be my interval morning, so I balance my training at around 85% endurance or zone 2 training, and about 15% of that training then on high intensity. So my high intensity training in the run this week was my intervals on Tuesday, and what I did there was 5 by 4 minutes at 90%. So I'm actually using my race shoes there too, so I'm using the Asics Meta Sky, I believe. They're a carbon plated shoe, so I'm getting used to running in those, especially with a bit of a higher leg turnover. And I'm running at what I feel I can hold for a 10K run in this particular. I'm letting my heart rate settle, and I'm sort of looking at that around the 3-minute mark in the interval for confirmation. And at the end of the 4 minutes, I'm stopping and I'm doing a complete 2-minute walk recovery. And then I start again and I repeat that 5 times for the session. And then I have a nice cool down run at the end where I'm just sort of jogging along and finishing off with about 1 kilometre of walking as well, just to loosen everything up. So that finishes off Tuesday. The great thing about this particular week is that I took some time off work. I took it off around the Tweed Enduro because we were meant to be registering on the Friday and racing on the Saturday. So I decided to take the Friday through to the following Thursday off work. So it's given me a bit more time for some training. Also knowing that If I did race the Tweed Enduro, I still wanted to put in a solid week after that. This was going to, in my program, this is my third build week as well. So Tweed Enduro to me was just a training race, just to train through it in a build to Cairns. I'm just using it for that purpose. So Wednesday, out on the bike, 3-hour endurance ride. I'm up at Redcliffe area here, so I rolled down to the Nudgee Criterium or bicycle track and did another hour around that, and then it's an hour home, and that gives me a nice 3-hour ride. A bit of an interesting one there was a nice red-bellied black snake on the Criterium track down at Nudgee. He slithered it across as I came down the bottom of the track, and it went one way and I went the other way rather quickly. And I don't know who was more afraid of who, but I've run over a snake before in training on the bike, and it's a lot of fun when your feet are clipped in and you look down and there's a snake there and you're trying to jump up and the bike's up and it's all on. So anyway, after that we headed back to the pool. I did have a few hours in between. I come back, have some food, have a bit of a nap and a bit of a rest since I don't have any work that day. And pool was once again intervals, but what I did this time with intervals was a bit of a shorter interval session. So still 2.5k in total, but I shortened the duration of the intervals. So kick off with a warm-up swim of about 400 meters again, and then 10 50s. Not flat out, just holding form on those 50s and accelerating for the first 25, then backing off for 25. After the 50s, I went into a sequence of hundreds, and once again just flowing through and holding form on those hundreds, and they're a little bit quicker pace than what I would be doing the 200s if I was doing those in. And shorter rest, I bring the rest back to that 30-second mark on all of the intervals. A nice warm down, and then I'm out of the pool, which gives me the 2.5 or 2,500 meters, 2.5 Ks. So roll into Tuesday already. So Tuesday I woke up a little bit fatigued. I had planned to go out into another 2-hour ride, but I ended up looking at my heart rate variability. I had a little bit of excuse me, had a little bit of a disrupted sleep as well, so I decided to back it off, just do a 60-minute zone 1 ride and even stop for a coffee and enjoy that since you have the time, which was a nice way to start the day off. And also being mindful that Thursday afternoon I wanted to do a upper level zone 2, not quite a tempo run, but a run starting to head into what I would be wanting to hold at the Ironman pace once we come into Cairns. So not wanting to kill myself on the bike in the morning, knowing that I was already a little bit tired, using it as more an active recovery, and then heading into that 60-minute upper zone 2 run on Thursday afternoon, which as a result the run was completed really nicely, and I pulled up from that run feeling like I'd gotten a lot out of the session. So Friday, we're back into my work issues. So I had a work shift schedule from 2 p.m. till 11 p.m. We had some Friday night racing, and it was going to be some higher level racing anyway. So it meant I was going to be fairly busy. I think it was 10 races on the program as well. So I went out in the morning, I did a 2-hour zone 2 endurance ride, just concentrating on staying aero, keeping my cadence good and keeping my hydration up. Come back from that, managed to get a few hours sleep before heading off for work on Friday night, so back into that work routine. Rolling into Saturday and Sunday, like most of us triathletes who do work, I like to get my longer sessions in. Saying that, I was also working again Saturday night. We had another 10 races on the cards and another sort of feature races as well, so I knew it was going to be a busy night. However, I still went out, I did a 1 hour 50-minute zone 2 run, and just really concentrating in that run on nutrition. So I made up some gels, and as I've spoken about before, I make my own gels using maltodextrins, sucrose and sodium. And I'll put a link in the comments to that gel recipe link. I have a little resource sheet that you can download. It's quite an economical way of doing it. It also means I can tailor the amount of carbohydrates that I want to use per hour. Afternoon, back to the pool again for my third swim for the week. What I did there was a 2,500 metre just straight endurance swim. So I got a pair of those Shock waterproof headphones. I put those on, I click into the music and I just roll the arms over. Not pushing the pace here, just staying relaxed, concentrating on the breathing, concentrating on the form and letting the laps roll by. So that finished Saturday off. As I said, I think a bit ago, that Saturday night was back to work, and it was another 2 p.m. to roughly 11 p.m. shift. So by the time you get home, it's close to midnight, then you've got to unwind a little bit. It doesn't leave a lot of sleeping time. I think I got about 5 hours sleep because I wanted to be out on the bike before it got too late with the traffic, especially here in Brisbane on Sunday. And my plan for Sunday, which I did, was a 4-hour Zone 2 ride where I rode from the northern suburbs here in Redcliffe down through over the Gateway down to Manly and then turn around, come back. I got a little bit busy down the southern end, but wasn't too bad, and you just have to be a little bit careful on the bikeways on the weekend. There's some weekend riders out there enjoying themselves, but sometimes their handling skills are a little questionable when they're coming towards you. They don't pay a lot of attention, so just got to be aware of that as well. You don't want to get hurt this close in. So Sunday afternoon, it's become a little bit of a tradition now, as the wife takes the dog for a walk from here, and it's for her about a 30-minute walk down to the beach, or a 20-odd minute walk. And I go for a run where I run up and around and then back down and meet her there. And that gives me a 20 to 25 minute Zone 1 run to finish the week off, where I'm just able to flush a little bit of that lactic acid and that heaviness out of the legs that have accumulated. And as I said earlier, this was a big week, being a bit over 19.5 hours. So next week we'll head into our recovery week, which I'm looking forward to after a 3-week build. And next Sunday at the end of that recovery week's also a little bit of a hit out down at the Kingscliff Olympic distance race. So I look forward to giving a bit of a race report on that. And let's cross our fingers for the organisers down there that they get some good weather, unlike what they ended up getting for Tweed on the cancelled event there. So anyway, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. If you've subscribed, thanks again. If you haven't, you know how the system works there. And once again, stay safe out there on the roads, and I look forward to another update next week. Cheers.